I'm Aevn, and this is the second log in which you're going to watch me lose, remake, and reshuffle this project to its core, and eventually come up with a working design. Quick note, if you're watching this and haven't seen log 1, the previous one, watching log 1 before this one would probably be the best thing to do if you want more context for what I'm going to say in this log. Sorry that this next log has taken so long to come out. School just began for me. Luckily though, things haven't started heating up just yet, but it's quite a balancing act. Let's see if I can keep this up, huh? Anyway, back to the project. I have yet again set myself 3 goals, 2 of which involve me completely reworking how things are structured, and the third goal got me started on the guts of this project. I'm quite proud of some of the code I have mod podged together, and will be sharing it with you guys later in the log. Talking about you guys, I'm deathly curious just how many people watch till the end. I've tried getting YouTube to give me some info, but I must either be incapable or YouTube just can't do it because I couldn't make heads or tails from the graph. So if you all could do me a favor and comment something random like, "Yep, I know exactly what you did," or something like that, that would be a great help. So, guess what? I lost the project. All of it. Just gone. I looked through all my files and found nothing. Absolutely and utterly nothing. I cried and eventually gave up looking. I accepted that the void must have eaten it for lunch, and it was now lost forever. With a heavy heart, I decided that my first goal would now have to be to remake the project, but it took me so long to make it the first time around, and I didn't really want to go through that all again. So I might have put it off for a day or two to sulk. After a half a week of moping around, I finally wrangled myself into action and told myself the project was not going to make itself, and if I wanted it rebuilt, I'd have to do it myself. It took me a day. One day. The project had originally taken me a month to complete to this point. I had remade in one day. What? It made no sense. Granted, I had not yet rebuilt the pickup and drop off function or added in the gravity function, but still, how? Perhaps I should have another go one? As I mentioned earlier, I hadn't yet added in the old pickup and drop off function or the gravity function, and I have decided that I most definitely would not let it slide, so I decided to sit down and make it work. A few days later, in a couple hundred nightmare tutorials and Godot help posts under my belt, I got a working design, and bonus, the gravity function still worked when the test bottles were stacked on top of each other, because the area was so itty-bitty. I'm not sure if I had partly mod podged the pickup and drop off function together, or if I had completely taken it from one of the hundreds of tutorials I had watched. I should really begin saving all of those tutorials into a playlist or document so that I can link to them or come back to them later if I need to. Anyway, I have put all of the code for both the functions in a Substack thingamajig, and I will link to it below for anybody who wants to use it. For my final goal, I decided that I would link the dialogue to the start task, so that I could get a start to the guts of this entire project. The plan was for you to first talk to the kid, and then get started with the task, given to you by the kid. But to do this in the first place, I must first create the task itself. My idea for this was for you to first get 3 mystery solutions triggered by the kid's dialogue ending. You would then need to pour one of them into a spare beaker from which you would then test the solution out. Depending on the tester added and the starting mystery solution, each one will react differently, all based upon its actual reaction in real life. These different reactions are represented in-game by different icons and will allow the player to tell which is which. For this, I created a flowchart to specify which test is in result of which solution. Each solution will be given a unique number under the hood, up to 3 digits long, the first indicating which mystery solution it is, the second number indicating which test was used on it, and the third indicates how far along it is in the process. For example, with 1.1.1, the first number indicates it was a test of alkene, the second indicates that bromine water was added, and the third indicates that UV light was used to complete the reaction. In this way, I can hardcode in exactly what happens to what. Just to quickly mention, my third goal isn't to get all the reactions in-game, but rather all the possible reactions for alkane in-game, just for a start, otherwise this log would take way longer to come out. Anyway, I can think of 3 different ways I could change out one solution for another. I could spawn in one scene and despawn another. I could make the solution visible or invisible, or I could change the position of the solution. Spawning and despawning in solutions seems like the most promising to me, so I'll get started with that. So you remember that problem of earlier where I couldn't change scenes without everything resetting? Welp, there's another, stemming from similar reasons. I tried making each bottle their own individual scene and connecting them all up with signals to the main menu script and then spawning them based on certain collisions. However, I couldn't get signals traveling from scene to scene. I tried remaking them all and then connecting them up with signals to the main menu script, but that didn't really work very well. So I did some research and found out that you get these variables called global variables which any node can access, which seemed perfect for my application. Until everybody told me that it was not a good idea to let the entire project have access to all the variables at all times, and it most definitely would be way more taxing on my computer. So putting that aside, I instead made a node above the main menu node that I could then connect everything else to, which worked great, apart from the fact that I couldn't make the main menu the only part being seen, or the moment that I made it into a branch scene, all the connected signals would stop working. What was I supposed to do? The best communication I could get between scenes was shifting the player from scene to scene. I tried playing around with the idea that bottles could go visible and invisible, but I quickly realized that the invisible bottles could still give out signals, and I couldn't deactivate them. On top of that, I knew even if I did get that part working, I still wouldn't be able to start the entire process because I would have to send a signal from the talking scene to the working scene, and I already knew I couldn't do that. Okay, well, it's quite glaringly obvious that I can't use scenes. So then what was I going to do? I looked to my left and started going through all the nodes, reading the descriptions and searching for a spark of an idea. Then a sparkle lit. Cameras. I dragged one into the scene and it fit perfectly. I linked it up to the button and tried changing the position. Yes, it worked! I made a new game project and dragged all the assets into it. Making one scene, I linked the play, back, exit, and the back to menu buttons, all to changing the camera's position. And it worked! Granted, if you made the starting window slightly bigger, you could see into other scenes, but I was willing to compromise on something like that. This new way of structuring things was great. It would even solve the problem of the resetting positions of all the bottles every time you switch from scene to scene, since you were never truly actually switching from scene to scene, just the illusions of moving to a new scene. Getting back to goal 3, making and linking the task. Well, with only one more thing left to try, I guess I'll have to try it. While the changing positions worked, I was able to send a signal after the dialogue ended to shift the alkane's position from outside the player's view to inside the player's work desk, which acted basically like a starting trigger for the task. And I was able to shift one thing to another, except for sometimes when the newly shifted thing would link to the old thing and would shift with it when it was teleported away, but this would only happen sometimes, and when I rewrote the code, sometimes more than once, it would start working again. It didn't make too much sense, and I would continue working on it in this way until I tried adding 2 switching possibilities, in which my code decided to throw a complete fit, and no matter how many times I rewrote it, the part would either only react to one, switch both, or completely crash. What was I supposed to do? Again, I looked around the program trying to find some kind of plaster to fix the flood, and again I saw something. This time it was collision layers. I quickly worked to put everything on its own layer, and then I paused for a second and did some rough calculations in my head. There were 20 layers, and I had 5 possible solutions to test, with 5 testers each, and those also had some secondary reactions. And what if I even wanted to add more? I would very quickly run out of layers. So I quickly opened up Google and searched up how to add more collision layers. And the first Reddit post I clicked on said, "I think you are trying to use collision layers for the wrong thing." What? Are you kidding me? And then it proceeded to say, "A better thing to use might be groups." What are groups? A quick Google search later, and I found out I could differentiate between whether a area to do is within one group or another. Fantastic! This is just what I needed. I put every tester in its own group, and it fixed everything. All the things were going and coming exactly when I was telling it to. Well, that's all I have for you thus far. In the next log, I will most likely add sprites to all those buttons that do not have one, and probably add the rest of the flowchart. Mini goal 1 kind of makes the first goal void. Whatever. I want to say a special thanks to those who commented, and an even greater thanks to those who subbed on my last log. Anyway, if you're curious to see where this goes from here, feel free to join me on this journey, or if you were watching this in a month or two, you're in luck, and the next log is probably already out. Well, that's me. See you around.